What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So if you saw my previous Hydros Pro video, I said in the actual video itself that after I come back from Thailand, because I went there to do a 2-month dive trip, I was going to do a bit more of an in-depth review. Because basically when I was trying to review it before, I had done like 4 or 5 dives, I think. And because I've just come back from Thailand about 3 weeks ago, I was there 2 months diving, and I ended up doing about 50 sort of dives. So now what we're going to do is do a bit more of an in-depth review of whether it's actually worth the price. Yeah, and just try and go into detail about it, detail of everything that I don't like about it, what I really like about it, and hopefully this will help you decide whether you want to actually buy one or not. It is a very expensive BCD. These normally retail for around 500 to 600 mark. It sort of varies. I got mine off Simply Scuba and I think I paid about 530 or so. So there is no doubt that it is very fucking expensive. So what I'm going to do in this video is tell you everything that's good about what isn't, and what I did like about it, what I didn't, and hopefully it'll help you decide whether you want to actually buy one or not. So yeah, let's get into it. So firstly, I think we'll go on with the stuff that I do like about it, and then we'll talk about the negatives. So what I really like about it is that you get a really good trim underwater. I've been diving for about 8 years, and using this, it's been the best trim that I've actually been diving with. So as it is sort of like a wing style, so there's no actual air sort of around the front of you, it is all behind you. When you're underwater, it keeps you really level, but then there is a negative effect to this, because when you're on the surface, because all the air is essentially behind you, it pushes you forward. So whenever you're sat on the surface on a, say waiting to drop down, swimming out to a site, you're constantly being sort of pushed forward. So you are constantly kicking, and the only way to really sort of stop from leaning forward is to lean right back. But then when you're leaning right back, it is a bit awkward because you have to try and balance yourself. So that is something to take into consideration if you're not very, if you're not really fit in a way, and you don't want to be using a hell of a lot of energy on the surface, then I wouldn't recommend it whatsoever, as you're constantly fighting to sort of keep yourself upright when it's always trying to push you forward. I'm not really too sure, but I have seen with other sort of wing style or like backplated wing setups, a lot of them are designed so that they do keep you vertical on the surface, and then when you go down, then you are sort of sat horizontal, whereas with this Hydros Pro, it really does just sort of want to push you forward, so you're constantly fin kicking, or you're trying to sort of lay back and balance yourself. So often I found that if I had a bit of a surface swim to do, by the time that I would actually get down to the buoy to where we're dropping down, I would be out of breath, and then by the time that you've sort of got there, you're out of breath, you're putting your regulator in, and then you're instantly going through a lot more air, so then you do end up using a lot more air. So yeah, that's just something to consider, like take into consideration. As I'm quite young, it didn't really affect me too much, but I was quite tired when I would get to any sort of drop zones, if you will, or like buoy markers. So the next thing that I really like about it, I like how tough it is. So if I open it up, you'll see what I mean. So as you can see on basically, so these are where your integrated weights will go in, if you don't know. And as you can see, this part of rubber here is at least probably about 5 millimeters thick. And then this back plate here is completely solid. And then these straps here as well, because they're a really thick rubber, it is actually really sturdy sort of BCD. But on the other hand, the other problem that I was having was that because it was diving in about 29 sort of 30-degree water at some point, it would, if I was wearing just a rash vest, literally everything would be sort of digging into you, so it isn't comfy to be wearing in, like say if you're one of those guys and you dive with no top on whatsoever, you won't be having fun at all, because it will just be really uncomfortable. So that's another thing to take into consideration if you do really warm water diving. And I would recommend maybe even wearing a rash vest, but even when I was wearing a rash vest, it was still sort of quite uncomfortable. So that's another thing to take into consideration. And I'm sort of going through and trying to find all the things I like about it. And I think this is sort of, in conclusion, the reason why I'm actually going to be selling it. So one other thing that I do like is these sort of integrated weight sort of covers, they can be removed and then you can replace the colour. So I went for like a bright yellow just because I quite like to have sort of bright-ish colours, and I think the yellow looks quite cool, but you can replace them for like blue, red, black, bright pink, yeah. And then I guess one more thing actually is it's kind of customizable-ish to the point where you can get a travel strap, so it takes off the integrated weights and then you get sort of like a strap that comes over here, which I've got upstairs. I'm not going to set that up because it just means pulling the BCD apart. And what you can also do is this sort of chest strap here, you can adjust it so that you can basically move it around to the height that you want. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much everything that I like about the BCD. So now I'm going to tell you everything, all the negatives. Okay, so the first negative thing. I noticed this the first time I ever went diving with it. Pretty much as soon as I put the BCD on, I sort of got on my hoses where I wanted them to be, and then I had my octo, or my alternate, or whatever you want to call it. There was nowhere for me to actually put it. I could have, this D-ring here is, oh, sorry, you can't see that very well, but this ring here is too thin to actually sort of bend the hose and get it through. I didn't want to bend the hoses through there and put it through the sort of the strap there. So what I ended up having to do was buy this Beaver. It's like a stretchy band, so as you can see, sort of that stretches out, and then you can sort of turn, like as you sort of would like fold the hose in half and then put it through there. But I thought that that was a bit crap, as there really wasn't anywhere to put it. So I ended up having to not only pay over 500 quid for a BCD, but then start paying for more sort of things that add on. Another thing, there are no pockets whatsoever. So typical, this is kind of like, I kind of refer it to like Apple as like a product, phone product. So basically Apple, what they'll try and do is like, there's no aux connector for a phone. So then they make you again go and spend more. Like, so you get like an aux adapter. So I kind of get in this sort of like mood or like feeling with the BCD is that they're just trying to make you spend more. So considering there are no pockets, then Scuba Pro then have, it's like a leg thigh pocket. So it goes onto about there and then it clips onto there. So it's just another way to spend more money, which is kind of like a thing that Apple do. And this isn't anything against Scuba Pro. I'm actually a huge fan of all their equipment and I've been diving with them for quite a while. I've got wetsuits, I've got Scuba Pro regs, but this is just about this BCD itself. Okay, so another thing. Now this is one of my pet hates that was such a pain in the ass. So as you can see here, you have this shoulder dump, and basically you can solve this problem yourself. I think that'll let you, maybe it won't. Okay, so basically what I was going to try and do was push, shit, there's some really sort of bad camera angles I've got going on here. But this dump is so long that every time when you would climb out of the water, what we would do, we were doing like just a ladder exit on the side of the boat. This dump would always, because it's so long, would tuck itself underneath like that. And then as soon as you go to then climb up, your shoulder strap is now sort of sat on top of the dump, and then it would just be constantly digging into your shoulders. So every time I was getting out of the water, I'd sort of have to climb up the ladder a little bit and then drop back in the water and then sort of pull the dump out. And it is quite a hard dump to find as it is so long. I know that it can be adjusted, but that's what I was just trying to do there. We're trying to pull that sort of little bit through there so you have to adjust it, but I'm not going to bother now because I'm selling it. Is that it's so long, so often if you're swimming along and you're just going to sort of drop a bit of air out of BCD, you could either use obviously the LPI, or you try and use like reach for this dump, and the dump would always be in like a really awkward spot because it's so long. It would either be like this connected sort of under there, or it'll be like way back there. So then when you're sort of feeling for it, it's terrible camera angles again. I'm on my phone. I was going to get a GoPro out, but I thought I'd just make it like a quick video, so excuse my terrible camera angles. But yeah, anyway, it would always be quite hard to find the dump, and you just end up sort of giving up and then just using the LPI. All right, next thing that I don't like is these little buckles here. They are good design, and it's good and handy how they twizzles, and they are really strong, but they creak so much. So when you've got your tank on your back and you're walking around the boat, getting ready to jump off, you are constantly walking around going, and it is so annoying. I think for a £500 BCD, it should not be making sort of weird noises like that. And I'm sure that maybe you could put like Vaseline or something just to sort of lubricate it or stop the squeaking, but I've spoken to other people and theirs does the same thing, and I think it's just a bit stupid and it's a pain in the ass, and it is just annoying. So yeah, that is like a little pet peeve of the fucking BCD. I think what else I don't like. The price. It's pretty expensive. I don't think it's worth the money. Well, I can see why it is expensive because there is a lot going on. Like all the moulding straps, the sort of like the actual bladder itself is solid, and I think you'd really struggle to puncture it. It is quite a solid BCD and it is like quite rugged, so I think it would last you a few years. But I'm selling it. Personally, I don't think it's worth the money at all. And because it's like a hybrid, that's what they kind of call it, like a hybrid where it's a jacket slash wing style BCD. So it's got all like the big straps, there's no sort of webbing on it or anything. And then it's got sort of the big buckle at the front. It's the in-between of a jacket and like a wing. And the reason why I'm selling it is because I'm not happy with it being in between. What I'm going to be doing is selling this and then sort of making up my own backplate or wing harness, or I've been looking at like X-Deep sort of wings and harnesses, or Halcyon or Halcyon. I'm not really too sure how to pronounce it. But yeah, that's basically an honest review. Might sound like I'm being a bit harsh, but yeah, I'm just being genuine. I don't think it's worth the money, and I think if you're thinking of going something like this, you should definitely look into doing like a backplate and wing setup. It is a heavy BCD. I think it weighs like nearly 4 kilos or something. So to have that in my suitcase, it was weighing it down a lot, where you can get very light backplate and wing setups. And if you're going to do like a lot of traveling, you can get like different backplates where they're lighter and a lot more sort of minimal. And you can adjust the size that you want the actual the wing, or like the donut, I think they call it. But yeah, I'm going to round this video off here. It was just a quick one. Hope everyone's doing all right with the coronavirus and staying indoors, making the most of the exercise. If you have any recommendations for a backplate wing setup, or how to even go about sort of getting into making my own backplate and wing, everyone I've spoken to, they've been sort of like, yeah, just choose your own webbing, choose your own backplate, and then you sort of make it up. But I don't really know actually how to. So if anyone has any advice on that, then please feel free to let me know. Or if anyone knows of any good videos that I can watch, and then I can sort of make up my own. I'm going to be vlogging the whole process, but first of all, I am selling this. So if anyone does want one, I am selling mine, so feel free to give me a message. It is still under warranty and I still have the original packaging. So if you do want one still, I know I have just kind of said that I don't really like it because I'm a terrible salesman, but yeah. Anyway, if you have any recommendations for a backplate and wing, then let me know. Backplate and wing. If you want to buy this, then send me a message. It'll be cheaper than original price, obviously. And I will see you next time. I'm not too sure what my next video is going to be, but I've got something. I'm like creating. I've got something in the works. It's been like a isolation kind of project. So I'll be talking to you guys about that soon. So keep on watching my channel. If you want to know anything more about this, then feel free to send me a message on Instagram or leave a comment down below. My Instagram's breathing below. Remember to please subscribe, as it really helps me out, and I'll be making a lot more videos. So yeah, everyone stay safe with all the coronavirus, and I'll see you next time. Peace.